Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. I'm your host, the Game Master, and today we're talking about Spider Man versus Man Wolf. But before we get into that, smash like, make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell, and leave a comment. We've got a great community here, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. With all that said, let's dive in. The prologue to this one takes place right after Peter Parker thought he saw Gwen Stacy die. She's secretly alive, but it will be years before that is revealed and she becomes Spider Gwen. Also, at this point in time, it would appear that Norman Osborn was deceased as well. So Norman's son Harry is upset. And when Mary Jane Watson tried to be there for him, Harry snapped at her and was a huge jerk. So they broke up. And the other really major thing in the prologue is that J. Jonah Jameson's son, John Jameson, is an astronaut. He walked on the moon where he found a red glowing stone on the lunar surface, which he then kept as a souvenir. He brought it back to Earth with him, and NASA studied it briefly. But because he was friends with the boys in the lab, they let him take it, even though that's against procedure. And John Jameson fashioned that moonstone into a necklace. So now he's a creature known as the Man Wolf, which brings us to the main plot, which is set in New York City in 1973. Peter Parker goes to his college classes for the first time since Gwen Stacy seemed to pass away. His emotions are running high, and he's not really ready to be back in class. And after class, he's out in the hallway where he runs into three characters who are on campus right now: Flash Thompson, John Redbridge, and Mary Jane Watson. Mary Jane sees that Peter is upset. She shows him warmth and kindness, and Peter goes off on her. He just snaps at her. And honestly, Peter is being a total jerk. So that, of course, upsets Mary Jane's feelings. John Redbridge tries to diffuse the situation, so he suggests they all go out and have a beer together. He says, "Let's all calm down and I'll pay." Peter says, "Why don't you just leave me alone?" Then Flash Thompson, being Flash Thompson, runs his big mouth. So Peter throws him up against the wall and is yelling in Flash's face, "I don't need you. I don't need any of you." Peter storms off. Flash Thompson says, "Touchy, touchy, Parker." John Redbridge says, "Hey, Flash, his girlfriend died less than 2 weeks ago, so maybe don't be such a raging a-hole all the time." So Flash Thompson leaves in a huff. So now it's just John Redbridge and Mary Jane Watson. So MJ says, "Does that offer to buy me a drink still stand?" And the two of them leave together. Meanwhile, across town, John Jameson goes to visit his dad at the Daily Bugle. He wants to introduce his dad to his fiance and wants them all to have dinner that night. They go back to J. Jonah Jameson's apartment, where John Jameson then turns into the Man Wolf, all because he's wearing that necklace with the glowing red gem. And our take on that was that normally with a werewolf, they are only so strong, but we argue that Man Wolf is way stronger because he literally brought a piece of the moon home with him. So that is in direct contact with him as long as he's wearing the necklace. And so therefore he's a bigger problem than a normal werewolf is. He's way stronger and even more ferocious. So Peter Parker, whose emotions are still running high, is walking along when he sees this newspaper that the Daily Bugle put out that's talking about how Spider-Man is responsible for the death of Norman Osborn, and Peter just flips out. He starts saying stuff like, "I hope your medical insurance is paid up, Jonah, because you're gonna need it." So Peter goes to Jameson's apartment, and by the time he gets there, he's calmed down some. When he started going there, he intended to beat up Jameson. By the time he's actually there, he's just going to give him a piece of his mind. But then he sees the Man Wolf. So he quickly changes into his Spider Man costume, and the two of them fight. And the Man Wolf wins. As Manwolf closes in on his father, J. Jonah Jameson, the dad recognizes the necklace and starts to talk his son down. J. Jonah Jameson says, "I never hurt you. Let me help you, son." So Manwolf goes out the window and runs off into the New York night, bounding from rooftop to rooftop. Spider-Man wakes up, and J. Jonah Jameson tells him, "Don't you dare go after him. If you go after him, I'm going to tell the police that what happened in this apartment tonight was an attempt on my life by you." So Spider-Man goes back into rage mode and screams at Jameson, "In case you haven't been keeping count here, I just saved your life. You know what? I'm not going to do that anymore." So Spider-Man leaves, and Jameson asks himself, "My God, what's happened to my son?" So Spider-Man goes home, gets a good night's sleep, and tries to get some hit points back from his encounter with Manwolf. He gets back a few, but not all of them. The next morning, he decides to go to Mary Jane's apartment, and as Peter Parker, he knocks on her door, and she answers wearing only a bathrobe. So Peter just walks in uninvited, and she's got one of those weird 1970s chairs that's kind of like a huge wicker bowl at a 45-degree angle with like a padded inside. Peter flops down in this weird old 70s chair, and Mary Jane says, "Are you okay? You look like you got hit by a Mack truck." To which Peter responds, "I feel like I got hit by a Mack truck." Then Mary Jane's tone changes. She says, "And you decided to come here to recover? Boy, you're a piece of work." And Peter is utterly and completely confused why she'd be mad at him. Then out walks John Redbridge, who's wearing his pants, but not a shirt. So Peter sees that and gets kind of jealous and mad. He feels like he wants MJ to be single in case he decides he wants her, even though he was Gwen Stacy's boyfriend until very recently and is in the middle of mourning her right now. So Peter gets mad and leaves. Redbridge says maybe I should go after him and talk to him. Mary Jane says he doesn't own me and he doesn't get to decide who I spend my time with. Redbridge says, "I know, but I need to go talk to him. I want to be on good terms with him. So I got to go, but I'll be right back, I promise." So Redbridge catches up to Parker and those two talk. Redbridge says, "I thought you were with Gwen." Peter says he was, but now she's gone. And again, Peter is being super emotional. Redbridge says he tried to talk to Peter yesterday, but he was too busy taking it out on everyone around him. Peter realizes he's right and agrees that he shouldn't be doing that. Later that evening, John Jameson is at his dad's apartment on the couch. John tells his dad his origin story about going to the moon and the necklace. And for the most part, J. Jonah Jameson says, "I want to help you, son." But John says, "I want to do this by myself because I got into this by myself." But then he turns into the man wolf and starts threatening his dad again. Meanwhile, Peter decides to apologize to J. Jonah Jameson, so he and Redbridge, who is still shirtless, by the way, which seems weird now, but it was more commonplace in New York City in 1973. Anyways, they get to the apartment right as Manwolf is getting ready to attack. So Peter changes into Spider-Man once again, and Spider-Man and Manwolf fight. And this time, Spider-Man rips the necklace off of Manwolf. And Spider-Man didn't notice this, but the necklace had grafted itself to John Jameson's flesh. So Manwolf howls as he reverts to John Jameson, and the howl fades into a scream. So Manwolf is defeated, and even though John Jameson lost a little skin, he'll live. And his time as Manwolf seems to be over. Which brings us to the epilogue, which takes place later that same night. As Peter Parker and John Jameson are walking back towards the apartment of Mary Jane Watson, they are jumped by foot soldiers. As a brief aside, according to the TMNT role-playing game, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were 15 years old in 1984, which means they were born in 1969. And when they were babies, they were exposed to mutagen ooze, which in the 1987 animated series, the Shredder had a hand in. So, as such, the Shredder and his foot soldiers are most certainly in New York City, rising to power in the 1970s. So, getting back to the game, these foot soldiers appear and try to mug the wrong guys, not realizing who they're messing with. And to be clear, the American Foot Clan is basically a cult at this point in the timeline. And these foot soldiers are teenage boys, not battle androids. So they ask for wallets, jewelry, etc., because Shredder needs money to build his empire. And as such, the foot soldiers try to take that necklace. So there's a fight, and during the chaos, the necklace with the moon rock on it ends up on the ground, and a shirtless John Redbridge gets knocked out so that he lands face first on the necklace. So now it's grafted to his chest. And while he does become a lycanthrope, or a lycanthrope rather, that's a story for another day. We enjoyed playing this one. We hope you enjoyed hearing about it. If so, as always, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell for notifications, and leave us a comment. From all of us here at the longest running superhero RPG on Earth, we hope you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next adventure.